Hello, Kayla here, and today I am making soap. I use a hot process method, which uses a crock pot. I melt all my fats down in the crock pot. This is my lye mixture, which is, I already have mixed together with water. I'm just waiting for it to cool down as my fat heats up, and then once this is melted down, I can dump this in, and they'll hopefully be about the same temperature. When you use a hot process method, it's not as important that they be the exact same temperature if you use a cold process method. And yeah, and it with the hot process method, you're cooking the soap, so you're forcing the lye to react with the fats and make into soap, so you don't have to wait for 6 weeks to cure like you do with the cold process method. And here I have, you can't really see because there's no light in here. This is soap that's just I've already made. It's already cut out. It's already cured. This is, I'm going to call this like my morning awake soap. It's a mixture of lemongrass oil, lime, and grapefruit, I think. It's nice citrusy. It's really nice when you're taking a shower in the morning. And then I have my coffee soap, which I'm not really impressed with how it's turned out. This is my first year using the hot process method, and this is just, it feels, I don't know, it feels fatty. Like the fat hasn't, I have too much fat in my recipe. So this recipe I'm using, I've tweaked a little bit for the hot process method. I normally super fat at 3%. I'm not super fatting at all in this. If I think it has too much lye to fat ratio, I'm gonna add a little bit of coconut oil in at the end. And I already have everything measured out because you don't want to be running around. This is gonna be oat and honey soap. I already measured out. I have my stick blender ready, and then once we get going, once this is all melted down, I'll stir this in, and then you stir it with a stick blender until you reach trace, and that's when I will add in the oats. And I'm not sure if I'm going to add in the honey or wait for it to cool down a bit, because normally I add it at trace when I do cold process, but I've never done it with hot process, and the honey heats up the soap, so I'm not sure how this is gonna turn out. And this is local honey, of course. I'm not gonna make soap with commercial honey after I'm making it with my pasture-raised, free-range pig lard. Okay, I added the lye and I mixed it until it's at trace. It's like a thick pudding, and now I will add in the oats and the honey. Alright, now oats and honey. The oats and honey is now mixed in. I'm not sure if you can tell, but the color has changed. It was like a tan color before, and now it's almost an orange, and that is from the lye reacting with the sugar in the honey, and it kind of, I'm not sure if it burns the sugar, but it makes it really hot. When I did this cold process method, I added the honey at trace, and like it got super hot. Like the tube was probably hot for a full day before it finally cooled down and started to harden. So I'm interested to see how this turns out. Now I'm going to put the lid on because you want to make sure the soap doesn't dry out, and you just need to sit and watch it. You cannot leave hot process soap alone while it's cooking. Once you're cooling it down, it's fine, but while you have it on low, and you want to have it on low, you don't want to put it too high, you have to keep an eye on it, because otherwise you could end up with a soap volcano, because this will bubble up, and you need to just keep a good eye on it, maybe give it a couple stirs, and I'll come back and show you what it looks like on the final process, and we'll get it into a mold. The soap is done cooking. It kind of got really dark because of the honey. But I think once it's done, it kind of has like this waxy look to it. And now you just have to let it cool a bit and then put it in the mold. So for a mold, this is what I use. It's just a PVC pipe. I don't even know how long it is. My husband got them for me. I use freezer paper on the inside, the shiny side on the inside. Don't use wax paper. I made that mistake and I got a whole batch of soap stuck in one of these and it took forever to get out. The only thing I use wax paper is on the bottom, just to keep it from the end cap from getting stuck. I normally still have to use a hammer to get it off, but that's the only part that I'd use wax paper on. The rest I'd use freezer paper. The freezer paper works really good. It slides right out, and even though the soap is still hot, it doesn't really melt the shiny wax lining or anything like that. And then you just pretty much scoop the soap into the mold. I pat it down a bit to get it down in, and then the following day we'll take it out and cut it into bars. And this right here is why you always wear long sleeves and gloves when you're messing with the lye. It must have splashed on my sleeve and it burnt the fabric. Nice. It is the next day. The soap is nice and hard. It's cool. So now it's time to get it out of this and to cut it into bars. And this is what I use. My husband bought this at Home Depot. And it's it works really good for cutting the soap because it has these little striation marks right here, so I can cut them to the same size every time. Alright, now let's try to get this out. I use my hammer and my screwdriver and I just kind of chisel the lid off because it always gets pretty stuck. And that's the end of it, and it should just push out. I'm trying to do this one-handed. It's working better the other way around. There it goes. Comes out just like that. The only problem with these molds is that I really have to try to tap it down, and a lot of times at the end here you can already see it doesn't. I end up with some funky shaped bars because it doesn't fill. The paper makes some crease marks, but trying to figure out how to not get that, but I have not been successful so far. I really tapped it down last night too, and it still did that. So, but so far I like the feel of this soap better than my last one with the new recipe, which I did super fat. It doesn't feel as greasy. I mean, it still needs to cure, even though, I mean, you can use it right now. There shouldn't be any remaining lye in it, and the heat makes everything, the lye interact with the fat and to make soap. It's the only thing is, it's a little tacky, and it's a little soft right now. So we'll cut it into bars, and then you just let it set for 2 weeks, and it hardens. It gets harder and it gets less tacky because the lemon or the citrus bars I did, they were just like this when I did it, and now after a couple weeks they're completely hard. They don't feel tacky anymore. All right, so let's cut this up and get it to in my soap closet. There, I'll cut up into bars. I got some kind of funky looking ones, but that's okay. I mean, they're not cut perfectly. I'm not perfect. Some of them are a little smaller, some a little bigger, but that's the draw. They're handmade, and you can tell they're handmade because they're not perfect. They weren't made in a machine. They're made by hand. But I kind of like how the color turned out. It almost looks like an oatmeal cookie, and it does smell like oatmeal. You can't really smell the honey. There's like almost like a sugary scent to it, which I didn't get before when I did the cold process method. I think it's because the honey cooked in it. But I'm gonna let these set for a little bit, for about a week or two, which will just harden them up. It dries them out, and all the moisture can get out, and they won't be as tacky or as soft, because these are a little soft right now. But they'll harden up, and then they'll be ready to package and sell. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. See you next time.